Hello, one and all, and welcome to the Commodity Podcast, your weekly podcast for car, motorcycle, and lifestyle enthusiasts alike. I'm your host, Gunter from Commodity Los Santos, the number one destination for automotive tuning and customization. Now you can watch us each week. Enjoy this episode. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Commodity Podcast, a podcast for motorcycle and car enthusiasts alike. If you're new, I'm your host, Gunter, and welcome to episode 16 of the Commodity Podcast. I hope everyone is doing well. I know that this past week has been very profitable for me, and that's going to be today's topic. Specifically, I want to discuss how to earn money and to manage your money as a solo player in GTA. In my early days of playing GTA Online, my attitude towards the game was basically to purchase everything available. I felt that purchasing all the house, the businesses, the cars in game was a great way for me to say that I've beaten the game. But I started noticing the DLC updates, and at the time it did feel a little bit new because I'm coming from an era of you had to buy hard copies, and once you purchased a hard copy of the game, there was no downloadable content per se. It gave a new meaning to playing a game that you already purchased. I remember the first time that I was really focused on not necessarily making money, but more so keeping money in game. Was after the Executive and Other Criminals update. This update basically gave players a new way of making money. Specifically, it was Rockstar way of packaging white collar crime into an update offering players to run their own criminal organization. But there was so many things new to purchase, like so many things. We got the introduction of the still houses. We got the Eclipse penthouse apartments, and the most expensive thing that we got was the super yacht. And I'm not gonna lie, I specifically remember how broke I felt. I also remember wanting to purchase the I have both of them now, but I wanted to purchase 2044 North Conquer Avenue and the Eclipse penthouse apartment at the same time. At the time, I felt like it was super expensive compared to what things cost now after the casino update. It's literally like nothing because everything got super duper expensive after the casino update. But back then it was super easy to make money because I was playing with friends, so making money was like really quick, really easy to do. After a while, I remember I became super focused on building my player's account. As more and more DLC dropped, I hold off on purchasing new businesses unless it seemed profitable. And what I really, really started doing was cutting back on businesses that did not earn enough for me. Example would be like shutting down my document forgery business, which when I was doing the math, I forgot how much I paid for it, but I do remember like I had to sell quite a lot in order to make back the money that I spent. And then I had to do even more to start to see profit. So businesses like that, I would just, shut them down. And businesses like the hangar, I would just use to store planes and not necessarily do any sort of like air freight missions or anything like that. And the same mindset for purchasing vehicles, except for the Oppressor Mark II and the Western Company Rogue. Those two vehicles I purchased specifically for PvP fighting. But from 2015 to 2017, I was able to build my player's account to 50 million, like the legit way. No glitching, no cheating, just straight up legit, just doing things and just saving, not really buying. Then 2017 happened. And that's kind of like when I started role playing, specifically through Instagram with other content creators. We focused like heavily on like photography, video content. I was mainly using Rockstar Editor, Adobe Photoshop, Adobe. I'm literally still using all these programs now. But at the time, I started spending again in game, specifically on new businesses, different houses, planes, cars, you name it. I was spending on it. And you know what? You know what come with new cars? New garage to store them. So I bought a new garage. The point is, I was really just spending. But then on February 20th, 2024, I will never forget this day. Rockstar decided to remove the Rockstar editor from PlayStation 4 and Xbox One players. And excuse me, getting a little emotional. All that spending I was doing for roleplay seemed to be a waste of time. So fast forward to last August, I started playing again. And I really started focusing on my player's retirement this time. I figured if I can get back to 50 million or even 100 million, that would be a nice retirement amount. Enough for my player to be comfortable. If I wanted to purchase something, I would only use money that is generated from businesses which generates a daily earning, like the nightclub business, which generates 50,000 a day in game or every 24 minutes in real life. Now, instead of me discussing all the businesses and how they work, which I kind of already did, but I think there's plenty of videos on YouTube with business deep dives that can pretty much walk you through all the businesses and you could kind of figure out which business is best for you. But in today's episode, it's more of a walkthrough of how I earn income and basically how I manage the income that I've earned. So we'll start with one day in particular, which is last week, Thursday. And I'm going to give you basically like a walkthrough of my day and you'll see how much I made. For reference, a day for me is about 3 hours, maybe 3.5 hours of game time. I have a life outside of Grand Theft Auto, so this is just basically for fun. And the YouTube, the podcast, all of this is literally just for fun. So 3 to 3.5, the tops I would probably ever play is for 5 hours. Like this is 5 hours straight. But for the most part, I think 3 hours is enough time. So last Thursday, I hopped on to play GTA online sometime in the afternoon, let's say around 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The first thing that I decided to do as soon as I jumped in was a bunker sale. The lobby was packed, so I headed over to the bunker and start the sale mission immediately. Luckily, I had no problems and I was able to make the sale. After completing that sale, usually I do a salvage prep mission. In this case, it was the Maze Bank prep mission. And this is the one where you have to collect the LS panic truck, which is super duper easy. When you collect the truck, you have to reduce your wanted level before you can stash the truck away. And I've done this so much times that I kind of, based on where they put you to pick up the truck, I kind of know what to do already. So if you collect the truck from the docks, I would jump directly into the water to lose my wanted level. Now, I want you guys to pay attention to how long my character is able to stay underneath the water to avoid police detection. In episode 4 of the Commodity Podcast, I discuss my lifestyle routines and some activities that I do in game to increase my player's stamina. This is one of the benefits of running, biking, or swimming in game because now basically my player can remain underwater for longer than normal. Only coming up for air for a quick second before returning underneath the water. And that's kind of like anytime I get this mission at the docks, this is literally what I would do. Just jump directly into the water, stay underneath for a little bit, and just to reduce my my wanted level. And then I'll come back up and, take the truck to the stash location, which is a marked location on the map. Depending on my mood, the next task would be either a car wash or a smoke on the water money laundering mission. In this case, I picked the car wash money laundering mission, which is pretty straightforward. I actually like the car wash money laundering missions. I feel like they're easier. I noticed that there's one for smoke on the water, the one that require you to burn. You have to burn like the weed farms, and occasionally, sometimes it'll send you like all the way north on the map, which is a long distance drive. So I feel like the smoke on the water missions are much better. They don't require you to travel too far. So again, in this case, it's a vehicle recovery mission. And basically, you have to recover the vehicle. If you do have a salvage yard, you could take it to a salvage yard, or you have to take it to How, or How, however you say his name. And you'll receive the money, and then you take that back to the car wash. So super easy, super straightforward. Again, all you got to do really is just locate the container. The easiest way I find to locate that container is basically driving around till you see the group of men that you have to fight. And usually the container is pretty close to them. They're surrounding the container, so it's a pretty easy way to spot the container that you're looking for. So once you've done that, you got to get rid of all the guys, pop the lock on the container, retrieve the car, and then after you deliver the cash to the car wash business. Now, after delivering the cash, the game usually spawns you inside of the car wash. So that's usually a perfect time for me to collect the cash from the safe. For the record, this safe does not really hold a lot of cash. The maximum amount of cash that I think it's able to hold is 100,000. And for some reason, for me, it tends to fill up very fast. So every time I do a car wash mission and I spawn inside, I always collect the earning. This way, I never run into a situation where money's not being produced or being earned because the safe is too full. So every time you go in, just collect because it quickly gets to 100K fast. At this point, as we enter, I see that my heat level is up and basically at max at this point. So technically we can't make no more money or do any more missions. So usually I'll start up the car wash mission to reduce the heat. And I actually enjoy these missions. I mean, the payout is shitty, but it only takes one car wash to fully reduce the heat on the business. And I feel like this is much better than smoke on the water, like the delivery. 'Cause it's pretty straightforward. You go to the location, pick up the key, pick up the car, wash the car, bring it back. The only thing you really have to worry about is other players. I'm noticing that sometimes I have to go off the radar when I'm going to wash the car. I feel like when people see you entering the car wash, that's their way of just shooting you. And that happened more than once. So now every time I'm doing this mission, I always go off the radar just before I reach to the car wash. But yeah, pretty straightforward. It does what it needs to do, reduce the heat on the business. And it's pretty easy. And in real life, I actually like detailing cars, so I actually find this pretty interesting thing to do. It's simple. Again, quick pickup, bring the vehicle to your car wash and just return it back to the location that you found it. Very easy, very simple. The next task that I did was kind of like random. Sometimes I do these, sometimes I don't. Not only was it close to my nightclub, but it was also a vehicle recovery nightclub's good mission. No one else seemed interested, so honestly, I went for it. At first, I was actually pretty confused because I didn't know where it was. I didn't know if it stayed on the expressway or if it exited off the expressway. But eventually, I caught up to it. And this one is pretty easy. You just have to blow off the rear doors with a sticky, and then recover the vehicle. Again, certain missions automatically spawned your player into the business. So this was also a perfect time to collect any daily earnings available from a safe wall. As for nightclub management goals, if you leave the popularity meter at this level, depending on the time, you may still earn $50,000. But in my experience, every time you leave this bar at like a half a bar to being full, by the time the game pays you again, you're gonna get paid 45 to 40,000 instead of the 50. So from my experience, it's just better to keep the club popularity level at max, and that's what I'm doing right now. So after I'll exit the nightclub, and once outside, I'll start a smoke on the water weed delivery mission just to reduce the heat on the business. These missions could be a bit tedious, like I mentioned earlier, but as someone who actually likes weed, these missions are not too bad. I kind of think it's cool because they seem to get some of the real strand names in the game. But, it could be tedious, and I could see people not liking it. What I try to do the most is basically just pay attention to who gets what. So I noticed that if I do everything correctly, there's usually like a bonus that I get. It's not much, but it's still more than how much you would get without. But for the most part, it's a very simple business. Again, a bit tedious, but I have it, so I'm going to do it. And sometimes when it's double money, it pays well. So it's not too bad, especially during the double money week. Now, this is a personal thing for me. Randomly, I do like to groom my player. So sometimes I'll stop at the hairstylist to change the facial hair, either to make it more visible or to just cut it down. I only do this once a month, and that's usually if I can remember. But it does help with the look of my player, especially when recording these podcasts. After checking my hairstylist and taking care of my facial needs, we'll pull up to the arcade to resupply all businesses from the master control terminal and collect the daily earnings in the office safe before leaving. After leaving the arcade, I spotted one of the exotic export vehicles. So I added the waypoint, then made my way to the vehicle. Interesting fact, one time someone placed proximity mines around one of these vehicles, which blew my ass up. And since then, every time I approach these vehicles, I always approach them slowly. After delivery, I head to the salvage yards to do another salvage prep mission. In this case, it's another maze bank prep, and we have to destroy the dug-in shipment to reduce the armor available. Mission like these that require me to travel long distance under time constraints, I always use a buzzer or the oppressor mark II. After completing, I would then start the robbery mission, using a bypass module to disable a car before returning it to the salvage yard. Now, this whole method and the way I'm going about this may sound a little bit familiar, and this was a part of my solo guide. And the only changes to this method is that there are no more auto shop customizations. After the robbery is completed, there's a slight cooldown time. So, in the meantime, I'll usually start a tow truck mission, hoping that the location is near the salvage yard. In this case, we had to tow the Ubermach Zion, which was super close to the salvage yard. Once we respawn in the salvage yard, I'll try to do another salvage yard mission, or depending on how I'm feeling, I'll do a payphone hit, which is currently double money and double RP for this week. Payphone hits is a quick and sure way to make money in GTA Online. When it first dropped with the contract DLC, instead of doing headhunters, I would do payphone hits because if you complete the bonus objective, the payout would be $45,000, which is much better than headhunter, which the complete payout after you complete the mission is $25,000. And with double money, the payout for payphone hits can be doubled, increasing the total earning to $90,000 per mission. So since last week, I have been doing payphone hits, and since it's double money, it's another way to earn income quickly in GTA Online. Now, at this point of the walkthrough, sometimes I'll keep going, but during this recording, I was a bit tired. So I felt like it was a good time to stop playing. Before I sign off, I usually head to the nearest ATM to deposit any cash on hand. My final deposit was $1,557,861, bringing my total account to $33,802,493. Money management is important, and by money management, all I mean is just depositing my cash, keeping it in a safe place so I'm not getting robbed, or you're not getting robbed, because I'm seeing people getting robbed. And I know 10,000 doesn't seem like a lot, but if you are in a lobby and you're not paying attention and multiple people are robbing you, it becomes a thing. So, depositing also helps me keep track of, how much I have in terms of my total balance. And I always like to have money on me. So usually after I make a deposit, I'll go back and make a withdrawal of $500. And honestly, the $500 is just to purchase miscellaneous stuff. So think about items like snacks or maybe for like the car wash. This was before I owned the business and it was free to use. So aside from what you see in this walkthrough, I also do activities to earn money like street sales and helping out other players, or again, even participating in double money events. Remember, friends, making money in GTA is easy. Keeping money is the hard part. On that note, it's a good time to wrap things up. As usual, if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, comment below, let us know what are your thoughts on this episode. Don't forget to check out our test drive series. The series will release every Wednesday at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and the podcast will be updated on Saturdays at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can get in touch with me on Instagram at Gunter Browne, or you can email us at inquire.gb@gmail.com. Thank you to all the new subscribers, and thank you for listening this week. Please join us next week for another episode of the Commodity Podcast.